to Bilingual Book Buddies. Bilingual Book Buddies is dedicated to promoting bilingual books for children and sharing insights from authors, illustrators, editors, agents, and anyone involved in bringing these stories to life. I'm Claudia Sloan. I'm one of 3 co-hosts of Bilingual Book Buddies. I'm an artist who also writes and illustrates books for children. I have 3 books of my own published, and one of them was a collaboration with the Phoenix Suns and the Phoenix Mercury professional basketball teams. And now please join me in welcoming my co-hosts, Silvia Lopez and Alicia Salazar. Silvia?
I am Silvia Lopez, and I am a Cuban-American author living in Miami, Florida. I was a media specialist librarian, children's librarian for many years until I turned my love of books and children into writing books for children. I have about 20 books published. They include biographies, fiction. They're all picture books, but they are different styles, different types. Fiction, nonfiction, easy readers, and my favorite, folktale retellings. I have a book coming out, which is we're going to be discussing soon. I have a book coming out in about 3 weeks, another one in August, and 2 more being published next year. So I'm very happy about that.
Hi, I'm Alicia Salazar, children's book author and former teacher. I've written bilingual and English language books for young readers, including the Camila the Star series and Trolls, Loch Ness Monster, and the picture book Cascarones, An Easter Surprise. I am passionate about stories that celebrate culture, spark imagination, and encourage kids to express themselves, especially in more than one language.
Well, and today we have a special presentation on Bilingual Book Buddies. Our interviewees will be our own co-host, Silvia Lopez, and her co-author for her latest picture book, Susan Rose. Sylvia and Susan have collaborated in and published 4 bilingual books, one of which is scheduled, which is the one that's coming up, is for release in July, and another one in the summer of 2027. And Alicia, would you like to introduce Susan Rose?
Sure, it is my pleasure to introduce our guest. Susan Rose is a Tony Award-winning Broadway producer for the band's Visit and co-producer of the Broadway musical Sing Street. She also produced Tony-nominated Broadway shows, including the original Joseph and the amazing Technicolor Coat Hurly Burly and Blood Knot. She co-produced the Drama Desk winning musical the last 5 years. Susan has enjoyed a successful film career as a producer as well. Several of her films have been nominated for and won Emmy Awards, including Cooler Climate and Jack. In collaboration with Silvia Lopez, Susan has authored the bilingual early readers series featuring Jose and El Perro, which was selected as one of New York City Library's best books for children in 2023, and Jose and Feliz Play Football, which received excellent reviews in School Library Journal, Booklist, and Kirkus.
Great. Thank you.
Welcome, Susan. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Okay, I have the first question. My first question is for Susan. Tell us a little bit about the plot of Jose and El Perro, your first book in the series. How did the idea of writing a bilingual book about a dog first come to you?
So, I used to live in a suburb outside of New York City, and I would have to commute every week to get to work. And I had a dog that needed to be babysat. So I would leave him with the Latina pet sitter and her little boy, Jose. And at the end of the day, I would come home, pick up my dog, and I would jokingly laugh, I bet Brady is going to be bilingual. Because I had read somewhere that that the average dog can learn up to 180 words, almost as much as an 18-month-old toddler. So I was certain that when Brady was in there, was being taken care of, that they were speaking both in English and Spanish. So I was kind of jealous because I don't speak Spanish. And then I thought, wouldn't it be a fun idea to make this story into an early reader for children that were interested in learning Spanish. That's how the idea came about. I started working on it. I have to admit, I'm not a prolific writer, but because of my experience both on Broadway and working with screenwriters as well as playwrights, I understand story. So I have the ability to create stories. I know beginning, middle, end. I think that's my strength. And I was determined to get this book published, but I didn't really know how. And fortuitously, I moved to Miami and just kept at it. I had the premise down, the story down, and I said to myself, I really need someone to co-author this book with me. First of all, I'm not Latina, I don't speak Spanish, and everything today is about authenticity. So through a friend, I asked a friend if she knew any published children's book authors that might be interested in collaborating with me. And she said, I think I may know someone. And she reached out to Silvia Lopez. And Silvia said, wow, I love that idea, but I've never really collaborated on a book or co-authored a book. I wonder how this will go. So that's how the whole idea came to be, and that's how I met Silvia.
It was fate, you got moved around, you moved to Florida.
It was really fate. And I'm the kind of person that likes to see all the projects that I try, that I'm passionate about, I make happen. So I was determined to make this happen. I just didn't know how. I was told by an agent pretty early on that I needed to partner with someone who was Latina, and she was trying to get some of her illustrators interested in working with me, and none of them bit, so to speak. So I'm lucky enough that I reached out to a friend, and she knows Silvia, and that's how it happened. It's truly magical.
You couldn't be on better hands. Silvia is, aside from being a great friend to us, she is just excellent at everything I've known from her so far. So I think you were meant to land on a good place, and this is it. So, and my
Thank you,
next question
Claudia.
is for Silvia. Silvia, can you tell us a little bit about the process of co-authoring a book? How might it be different from writing a story alone?
Okay. Thank you, first of all, for your kind words, everybody. It is very different because writers are loners. We are loners. We sit in front of our computer and we write and we put our ideas down. So when you need to share those ideas and that time with someone else, I think the key word is flexibility. Number one is flexibility. You need to be able to set aside what you thought, you put it out there, and it either gets not accepted or it gets revised. And the same comes to you too. Susan will come to me with an idea and we work on it, and some things I may say, that might not work, but this will work. So flexibility is a big thing. I think I've said this before, and I think Susan knows about it. When I wrote my agent about this project, she was happy because she is a wonderful person and a good agent. But she did say to me, I need to warn you that sometimes when you co-author something, when you work with another author, another person on a project, sometimes it doesn't work out, she said, because egos get in the way, or creativity, you have your ideas and the other person doesn't. And I said, okay, I'll keep that in mind. Let me just give it a try. And here we are. I think it's been 4 years, right, Susan, from the beginning, from Jose and el Perro, and then
Yes.
Jose and Feliz play football, and the one coming up, plus the one next year. So we work very well together. We communicate very well. And I think that we get along and have actually established a friendship, I would like to think. And she's a lovely person to work with and very, very creative, like she said. So a lot of the things that she mentions are right in the money. And so we take it from there. So that's how it is. That's how it came to be. But it is flexible. You cannot not bend. You have to be able to allow the other person to come up with their ideas and accept them, or, you know, or speak your mind, and which is fine.
I
Did you
think we
two ever have any major sticking points, or did you just kind of get along the whole time?
no, we
I don't
really get
think,
along.
yeah, we really get along.
It's
No,
been
we don't
great.
have
I
any
mean, yeah.
sticking points. Yes. No, we haven't. We actually have more ideas for Jose, and we put them out there for this editor. And things being that they are right now, with the publishing business, as we all know, she wasn't after this one that we're going to do. She said, well, let's wait a little bit. But we have Jose and his dog. We've got tons of things that they can continue to do together. So we can continue to do them too if we want to.
Bueno,
I was going to say that successful creative projects always work when it's a true collaboration. I learned that by doing my projects for the theater. There's so many creative people involved, directors, choreographers, musical directors, lighting designers. But things work best when it's a true collaboration. I would say that's really what works for Sylvia and I, because I think we both understand our strengths and we both really admire one another for those strengths. And it's been a great team effort.
And I think your background, Susan, probably contributed as well, because Sylvia's background, she already has that experience of working with a variety of different people for her books. I mean, she's got 20 plus books out there, and each book, it's, goes through a process where, they have art directors, they have the illustrator, they have the editor, and maybe other people around. You and theater have, like you just said, a variety of different people working on your project. So both of you already had a little bit of or a lot of that background where you have this collaboration and these are creative fields, or this is creative collaborations. So I think that also contributes, plus your personalities. I mean, two lovely ladies working together, how much beautiful can it get?
I was just going to say what was different for me was that, Gloria Felix is our illustrator, and she has brought these books to life.
She is.
And what's
Totally.
different for me is that I didn't realize once you get accepted and the book is going to be published, the editor, chooses the illustrator. In our case, we had a great editor, Renee Kelly, at Penguin Workshop, and she was gracious enough to offer us a list of several people that she thought might be right for the book. And Sylvia and I loved Gloria's work, and Gloria said yes. But I don't think a lot of other authors have that ability or are able to do that. And that to me is kind of odd, because the illustrator does bring the book to life, and it should be not an approval, but you should be able to look at an illustrator and look at their work and decide I think with the editor, whether that person's right for your book or not. But I don't think that's how it always works.
Yeah, I think
You're right.
it varies from project to project, but most of the time it's not how that works. Now, a quick
No.
question. In this case, as a collaboration, you have an agent, Susan, and Sylvia has an agent. So when you guys went out to try to sell the book to, publishing companies, editors, and so forth, which agent was working on, or how does that work? I don't know. Did the
Well,
agents collaborate too?
for Jose, the Jose books, because I was the one that, initiated the project, my agent took the lead. Sylvia's agent has been very helpful. And with our fourth book, because she had the relationship with the editor that eventually bought the book, she has taken the lead.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that's really neat. So I mean that's actually really cool to hear, because basically your agents are kind of brought in and they're having to collaborate too. So
Yes.
this is a
I
story
happen
of
to have a
collaboration.
yes, and I happen to have a very, very sweet, for the lack of a better word, a very nice agent. She is just humanly a very nice person. And I knew right from the beginning that she was going to go along with, with what the other person said. She looks at she does all her work. She looks at the contract, and she goes and, takes out a phrase or changes things. She does her work, but she is very much in favor of our collaboration. So it has worked well. And for the fourth book, we'll be talking about later, for the fourth book, which is not part of the series, and Susan is right. The book was kind of stalled there for a little bit. And I reminded her, and she remembered that she had talked to somebody at a conference about the book, and the person had expressed, she had liked the idea. And so my agent circled back to her and said, "Hey, remember that book that's a collaboration? It's a bilingual book." And the editor said, "Oh, yes, yes, I've been meaning to get to that." And she offered us the contract. So each agent has done her own work. There has been no friction, nothing at all. It has been very smooth. And so this collaboration has been a true collaboration. We really have worked well together, and hopefully will continue.
So they'll never be able to make a Netflix movie out of your experience because it's too friendly.
We'd have to add a conflict, right? We'd have to
There's
add a
no
conflict.
drama.
Yeah. There's no drama.
No
No, there's no
drama.
drama here. Oh, listen, we've have enough drama in our lives every day and all around us. Forget it. This is a very, very good, this is a good work that we're doing. This is a good project that we're doing, all the things that we're doing, Susan and I. So that's kind of brings a lot of joy to our lives too. Just like our bilingual book buddies. Right? Yeah,
That's right.
because we have been doing so great with that. I was just telling Susan and how not only great because of the premise that we're doing or the thing that we're doing, but also because I think in my case, what I have learned doing these interviews. So to me, it's been a win-win situation. And we also began with something, Susan, we began with something that Alicia put out on social media. She was interested she had this brainchild. Would anybody like to join her? And Claudia answered, and I answered, and now here we are,
That's
you
great.
know? So
And we all have different backgrounds, which your background is interesting to me. We talked about how maybe collaboration, your experience with collaboration helped with your collaboration with Silvia. Are there any other ways do you think that your background and experience has been useful in writing children's books?
I just think I think I'm very good at story. So, and Sylvia's taught me this. I know every story, when I do a show or I do a movie, has a beginning, middle, and an end. But Sylvia has taught me with writing children's books that the beginning has to be a problem, the middle is how the problem's solved, and the end is how they get there, that they get there. So because I've never written a children's book, didn't look at it that way. I didn't break it down and think, oh, yeah, every character has to have a problem to solve, and that's how you work through the book. So that was something that was very new to me. But I think my story background helps because I can think of creative ways to tell a story.
which is
Well,
exactly what a children's book is, a creative way to tell a story.
exactly. That's what makes them successful. Well, and I want to dig into the next book in this series. So let's talk a little bit about your second book. The second book deals with a dog that plays football or soccer. So we know that Susan researched the topic quite a bit and found something special that you include in your read alouds. Can you tell us what this is and how it enhances the presentations? And this question is for Silvia. Susan, you can chime in as well too.
Yes, the reason that presentation has made such a difference. The book in itself is fun. We read it, the kids love it. And right now, soccer is the it word right now. There's nothing higher than that at the moment. So the book has already been building up to that. And we've presented it at the Miami Book Fair. We read it at the Palm Beach BAM Festival. And, we've already done quite a few things with the book. But there's one particular, let me put it this way. We make a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation. I make a PowerPoint presentation of all my books because I always read it to a group, whether it's online or whether it's on in person. And I always feel that the little guys that sit in the back of the room can't see. You know, you hold up a book this size like this, it's just a little bit bigger than my hand, and you hold it up and you hold the pages open, and what can they see? You know, way back there. So always from my very first book, and of course with the ones that I'm doing with Susan, we make a PowerPoint presentation and we project it behind us on a screen. Or if it's online, we put it into the Zoom link, or, you know, I mean, the Zoom presentation or something, and we make sure everybody sees it. Well, anyway, Susan researched dogs that like to play soccer, and she found this gem of a little snippet. It's on YouTube, and I have a link on it on that on my website that goes to it, and I think Susan does too. And that link takes you to YouTube, a little video done in England. It looks like it's a few years ago. And this man has a tiny dog that happens to look a little bit like Susan's dog and a little bit like mine too. And that dog plays soccer. Now, we don't know the idea of how it started, except that he I guess he jumped in when a local team was practicing, which is a little bit of what happens in our story. In our story, the kids are practicing, and Feliz jumps into the field. And he just does what he likes to do, which is push the ball around. And that little YouTube video, we see this dog doing that. It's an adorable little dog. And the owner of the dog put music to it, and it's hilarious. So we always know that at the end of the presentation, we say to the kids, and now we have something really special to show you. Just watch this dog play soccer. And they
kids
hoot.
love it.
I was just going to also say, it's one thing to read about a dog in a book playing soccer, and I'm sure the kids out there, really? Dogs play soccer?
Yes.
But it's another thing when you can actually see in life a real dog playing soccer.
It brings the story to life.
Correct.
And they even get it, most of them, especially if it's any age above maybe kindergarten. The dog gets a t-shirt. It says Ronald Dog. And and the kids are sitting there and they're going, "Oh, I get it, Ronald Dog." And I mean, they are whooping and hooting. And this is a minute and a half.
Oh,
So
wow.
it ends our presentation on a very happy note, because it is a happy book. All three of our books are very, very happy. And the third one is very happy too. It's even in the title. So that's what Susan did with her research. She found that terrific little snippet, and we included in all our presentations.
That sounds lovely.
My question is for Susan. You have a third book, Happy Birthday, Jose and Feliz. Feliz is the greatest. I know their dogs in English are named Happy, but Feliz is such a good name for a dog because they're just so happy.
Well, it's a bilingual family. Don't forget, Jose's totally bilingual.
Yes, I read the book. Yes.
And that was
English and Spanish.
And that was one of the reasons that we chose the name Feliz, because when Jose goes to the animal shelter and decides to pick out a dog, he's going to pick out the dog that smiles, that has a great smile. And that gives him the idea to name him Feliz. Now, the way that also works is I thought that would be a great wordplay later on with some of our books, because there's Feliz Cumpleaños and there's Feliz Navidad. So there was the ability to then try to do something clever with Feliz using his name and a holiday. So that's actually how this book came to be, because Jose always celebrates, happy birthday with people in his immediate family. So he's celebrating his sister's birthday. They're singing the song in Spanish, Feliz Cumpleaños. Feliz hears his name and thinks the song's about him. And then Jose gets very sad. It's a happy occasion, but he gets very sad because he realizes his best friend, his immediate family member, his dog, doesn't have a real birthday. And that's the problem we set up in the beginning, is that he has to figure out a way to have his dog have a real birthday.
Yes. And I have to add to that Susan also came up with because we were racking our brains about how is he going to do that. And if you read the book, you will see how Jose ponders this problem and this question, but what he actually comes up with. And I think not only is the idea great because of the background in it, but also because he discusses this with his abuela. So we also love multi-generational books. And so he discusses the problem with abuela, who actually comes up with something that sparks his idea in the end. So, yeah.
And this happens with people too, people who immigrate to the United States and they don't know their birthday. Most of their birthdays are January 1st.
Exactly. Well, I had an instance in my family where my grandmother didn't know her birthday, and she decided to share her birthday with her son, who was my father. So that's what gave us the idea, because the abuela ends up making a birthday cake. And when Jose sees the cake, he says, well, it's not my birthday yet. And she said, well, it's not for you. These are for two of my best friends who share the same birthday. And that's what gives him the idea to share his birthday with his forever friend. I was just going to backtrack a little, because I think that so many dogs are adopted today that don't know, we don't know where they came from. We don't know their history, their background. We certainly don't know their birthdays. And through our research, we learned that Dogist, which is August 1st, was named by one of the animal shelters as the universal birthday for all shelter dogs. So if you have a shelter dog that doesn't have a birthday, August 1st is the one that you can celebrate on.
Right.
So does that also mean that August 1st is a big party day at all animal shelters?
I think some animal shelters celebrate August 1st as the universal birthday for shelter dogs, but I think it's such a wonderful, beautiful idea, because a lot of these, we don't know a lot about the animals that we adopt.
Right.
And that's pretty cool. They all have a shared birthday throughout the whole
They have a shared birthday. Exactly. They have a shared birthday. It's a beautiful idea. And I just want to also add that Abuela mentions this to Jose, that she's making a cake for two people. But she does say it's not that they share the same birthday, it's that one of them doesn't know her birthday. And of course, this is not the type of book in which you go into any depth, but when you think about it, it's what Susan said about her ancestor. There were people who lived through the World War II. They were in concentration camps. We still have concentration camps, and we still have refugee camps now. And when there's a lot of people who did not know when their birthday was, their real birthday. And so it's kind of implied that Abuela, being an older woman, she has these two friends, and one of them doesn't know when her birthday is. So her friend and her celebrate the same day. And that's where Jose gets the spark. I mean, Abuela has two friends, and he has his best friend, because that idea of best friend is throughout all three books. This is Felice's best friend is Jose. He waits for him behind the window for all the time. As soon as he sees him coming up the walk, he knows his best friend is coming. So we see that through the eyes of the dog. And we see the love that Jose pours onto his best friend, which is this dog. And he's very concerned. How can I give him a birthday if I don't know when his birthday is? So with the generations talking, different things, different ideas, the little boy comes up with a brilliant idea to share his birthday with his best friend, the way abuela tells him two best friends share too. So this is a very deep, you can go historical, you can go emotional, a very deep point, which is not for this book, but it's there. It's still touched upon. I'm going to share my birthday with my best friend since I don't know when it is.
Well,
How
and I
many
think
chapters? How many chapters is it, and what is the target age level?
It's four. All of them have 4 chapters.
All of them
Short
have
chapters,
It's for
yes.
5 to 7-year-olds. It's an
Right.
early reader. So
Okay.
it's a way to introduce Spanish to an English-speaking child or someone from a bilingual family that's also learning English. So,
Right.
so the Spanish words are sprinkled throughout, but they're code switched. So
Right.
in other words, you get a sentence in English directly followed by a sentence in Spanish.
Does it have a
So
glossary?
it
Yes.
Is
does.
that what you're
Right here.
showing me?
Yes,
Okay.
this is the list of Spanish words found throughout. They are chronological according to the story. Instead of in alphabetical order, we put them in there according to as they appear in the story. But the code switching that Susan is talking about is very, very important. It's been a topic of discussion in a lot of our groups that we meet with, and at the BAM festival, our panel had to do with bilingualism and bilingual books, and code switching is very important. We try to put the Spanish in this to be decipherable as soon as possible, whether it's in the same sentence or the next sentence, at the most maybe 1 or 2 illustrations that illustrate the word in Spanish, but for the most part, they are repeated in English somehow.
And I
This
think
is
it's done in a very natural way,
yes,
so that you're saying something in English directly by somebody saying it again in Spanish.
right.
It seems to work very well. I was going to say the other fun thing about Happy Birthday, Jose and Felice, is that we came up with the idea because they're going to have a joint birthday party. Jose is going to have a birthday party with Felice. We came up with the idea to include a recipe for pupcakes at the back of the book so that you can actually make pupcakes for your dogs when they're celebrating their birthdays. So that's another fun way for children to get involved.
I love the recipe idea. Who doesn't want a cupcake? So I think that is super cute. I actually do cupcakes for my pup too every single year. And this last year I made it. It was basically the shape of a paw, and it was so small that fortunately she waited long enough for me to take pictures, because by the time I look, as soon as I say okay that she could have it, she swallowed it one single bite. So
Well, she's a big dog, Claudia. She's a
she is a
big
big
dog.
dog, yes. But
Uh,
I love these the recipe and the very back, and I see that there's information about the dog August 1st doggy birthday. So how wonderful. Well, my next question is to Silvia. Silvia, we know you have a Ford collaboration with Susan being released in 2027, and it's also a bilingual book, but it's not part of this Jose series that we're talking about. So
right.
can you tell us a little bit about what that upcoming project is?
Sure. I almost included it to send to you, but we haven't had our cover reveal yet. We've been working on it with the editor, with the manuscript and everything, but we haven't had our cover reveal, so I hesitated to send it to you. This was another one of Susan's wonderful ideas, and she has 3 grandchildren. And the oldest one, Maya, loves the color pink. So she wanted to do something dealing with the color pink. And we kind of decided on birds because birds come in all different colors. So we talked about birds and how we could introduce the colors in Spanish with, in a book, in a bilingual book. But then the problem was, there are no pink birds. I mean, there are, the spoonbill is here. Everglades has the
Pink
spoonbill.
flamingos?
Well,
But
that's it.
they're not coming to your back.
But they're
Nobody's
not
coming to your
coming to your
backyard. No
backyard.
Okay,
pink birds.
that's
So the
true.
kids come up, and the children are named after Susan's two oldest grandchildren. And so the children come up with the idea of feeders, putting feeders in their backyard, and they watch for those birds all year long. And as they see them, they will mention them, and they will say, "Oh, look, it's azul, it's a blue jay, it's azul." So we did our research, and we're also very lucky that we have a young woman who her name is Kirsten Hines. She's part of our critique group, and she is a wildlife photographer and she's just a marvel. She has published so many books, and she travels all over the world. And we ran the information by her that we were putting in the book, because it's what we were talking about in another interview recently. The research, no matter what, has to be 100% correct. So we ran it by her about these birds. And so the problem was about the flamingos. Yes, they're pink, but they're not going to come to your backyard. So on that note, I'm going to leave it on that note, because the book won't be out until next spring. And it's very, very clever again how Maya, the oldest little girl, again, this is two children with their abuela. We like the multi-generational aspect. And we're both abuelas.
We're both abuelas.
We're both abuelas. So we said, okay, let's just leave the abuela and the two children. And Maya comes up with another clever solution, very, very unexpected solution on how she can see her pink birds all the time. And yeah, so,
I
but
was
as
just
they
also,
say, you'll
yeah,
have to read the book for that.
right. And this is also a picture book as
Yes.
opposed to an early reader. So it couldn't be as long, and we had to write it in a different way.
Yes, yes.
It
Yeah.
The
sounds
vocabulary is not
fun.
as controlled as the easy readers. It's there, it's easy to read because it is also, for very young. But it's a different format, and it's going to be big. And you ladies found out along with me that it was Nomar Perez whom
Omar
we were
Perez, yes.
interviewing. Whom we were interviewing, and he says in his interview, "Oh, I'm going to be doing this book. Where are the pink pájaros?" And I'm going, "Oh, that's my book. Wait a minute, that's me and Susan." And so we have seen the
That
picture.
was a fun surprise.
That was so cute, right,
But you know
Claudia?
what's so odd? Like you never get, I don't know, we've never talked. I have no idea,
No,
what the illustrations will be until they actually send you the rough draft.
right, right.
It's a different way of working, which
Yeah.
I guess
But we've
works.
seen them now. We've
I
seen
think
Yeah.
them.
I think that's the thing that blows everybody's mind who is not in the industry, like just family members and other people around us. They're like, you don't meet the illustrator? Like
No.
it's so hard to understand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I know. But we've
His
seen
artwork is
now.
beautiful. And it
Hmm.
sounds like you've seen it now, so that's great.
We've
Oh,
seen it now. We've
we're
gone through.
thrilled to have him on board.
Oh, yes.
It's
We
just
didn't
that
know.
we didn't know, and it's just a different way of working.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
But this one, yes, they have sent us already the first, the first interior, so that you can look inside and you can make your comments. They make the comments, and obviously, for the people who are listening, we have an audience of a lot of writers and aspiring writers, and they will come full of notes. The copy editor will be making notes, and the art editor, the art department is making notes. Things like, can you move the left hand a little higher so that it's not too close to her face? I mean, little things like that, which we don't really have to worry about. We worry a little bit more about the text. But yeah, no, we have made some very interesting comments already about things that we thought could be, shifted, or things like that. And the book is going to be lovely. He's
And I
making
also,
it
yeah,
so
I was
colorful. It's
also going to
beautiful.
say with this book, we had done a lot of research on the birds. So we know different, what size the birds have to be, as opposed to someone that might not know as much as we do about the birds. So that was some input that we had to, do after the first go round, because some of the birds were not the right size. But of course, if you don't research it like we did, you may not know. But
Right.
it's very important that it's right, because you're
Correct.
trying to teach children about birds. There's a big, we have a lot of back matter, very detailed, about these birds that are migratory to Florida. And children will learn a lot about birds.
That sounds
So that's
exciting.
also the fun part of the book.
Yeah,
It
that
is.
sounds so did you two become bird watchers?
I love birds. So I used to have a house where I used to hear birds all the time. And it's not that I'm up on birds, but I love birds. And I think children love birds.
Mhm.
And I think it's a
Yes.
great activity to do with a
Totally.
family member, because think about it. You can build a bird feeder, put it in your backyard, and together watch to see who comes. What
Which the
comes?
instructions are actually in the back of that book too, to make it out of popsicle sticks and string, how to make your own bird feeder. So our books are very complete. They've got everything you could possibly want. They have words in English, words in Spanish, they have how-tos, they have recipes. So, and in that particular case about the where are the pink pájaros, like Susan said, we have a paragraph about each one of the birds that appear in the book, a little bit about each one of them, some interesting tidbits. And so it's I think it's a very complete book. We can't wait for it to come out. It comes out in the spring. So it'll be the spring of 2027.
That
And
that
pink
sounds
is
really
such a,
exciting.
it's very interesting, because the Jose book really gears towards boys. I don't think there's a lot of children's literature with boys that are central characters. I think more are girl centric. And I'm happy that we created a book that boys can relate to. But with pink, pink is a color that all girls love. And I was trying to figure out how we could incorporate that in a story. So it kind of all works together.
And they're trying to make the flamingo the Florida state bird. It's in the news now. Just today or yesterday was Florida Flamingo or National Flamingo Day.
International Flamingo Day was
Right.
yesterday.
So they're yeah.
And in the article, they said they're trying to get it through the state legislature that flamingos will be the state bird of Florida, which they should be. I mean,
I
when
thought they
people
were.
no,
No, they're
I
they're
thought
not.
not.
they already were.
When people see
Actually,
flamingos, they think Florida, right?
yeah, they do, but they're not really, and they're not as widespread in Florida. They're very much Caribbean and northern South America. Um, I'm of two minds in that, because the actual state bird is the mockingbird. And I have mockingbirds outside of my house, and they are nondescript, gray, plain, but you can listen to them sing for 10 to 15 minutes without stopping. A little thing like this, and their singing will carry across the street. They are wonderful. I have even recorded them singing, but they're not colorful. And I realize that the flamingo is such a cool bird. It is a very cool bird. So I would be fine with the flamingo becoming the state bird, but I've been thinking about writing something about those marvelous mockingbirds, because they really are amazing.
I think you should. You should give them some credit that their beauty is through their song, not
It
necessarily
is.
through the color of their, their plumage.
There you go, Claudia. That's it. Next book. Got that one, Susan.
Susan and Silvia, get busy. Well, so
There we
this
go.
brings us to the end of our official episode. But before you go, there's two things. One, I want you to re-share with our audience when Happy Birthday Jose and Feliz comes out and where they can find it and all that good stuff. Um, And then we're going to go into our rapid fire questions.
It's released July 14th, and you can buy it Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all your local independent bookshops will have it. And we're very excited.
Bookshop.org. Bookshop.org will have it.
And we're very excited to have it out in the world. So it will be available July 14th.
Yay. And we know the Flamingo one comes up the following spring, or 2027.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of time for that. But well, this is lovely, and time just went really fast. But before you leave, there's 3 questions we ask of every guest. And yes, Silvia, you get to answer those questions this time since you're on the guest seat. So Alicia and I will take joy in asking those questions. So the first one is, what's one fact about you that even your biggest fans might not know? And Silvia, you can go first, and then Susan gets her turn.
Okay, I'm a big audiobook listener. I read a lot of children's books, but the adult books are way too long, and I don't have the patience for them anymore. So I like to listen to them in audiobook, and I listen to them like a lullaby. I plug in and I go to sleep, and it's wonderful. I listen all night long, and I wake up and then I try to catch up where I left off, but I'm a big, big audiobook listener.
I love them too. Susan, how about you?
Well, I was a singer when I was younger.
Wow.
I was a performer. I was on the Merv Griffin show, which was, like a daytime talk show. And I also auditioned for a Broadway show when I was, I'm going to say 15 or 16, for a Broadway musical they were doing based on the Lolita story. Thankfully, I didn't get it because that would have been very strange. But anyway, people don't know that about me because I don't really sing anymore. So, yeah, when I
Oh,
was younger.
how exciting. What an adventure.
Second rapid fire question. If others were to describe you in 1, 2, or 3 words, what would those be?
Okay, I think 2 words. I think the first one is tenacious. I'm a very tenacious person. When I get a hold of something that I really want to do, case in point was to write. I began after I retired. I wish I would have begun that 50 years earlier, but there was no time. But then I said, I'm going to do this. And I sat down and I tried, and it's worked, and I'm enjoying every minute. And I guess the second word, which is overused, but I think I like to be kind. I think we don't have enough kindness. And there are times when I feel like saying something snippy or biting, and I said, no, wait a minute. Let me bite my tongue. I'm just going to be a little kind to that person who said something that I didn't like, or something that was going on. But so those are the 2 words.
I like that message. Take the path of kindness.
Yes.
I think the word describes me is passionate, because I get very passionate about projects and life and people I love. And I think that's what really makes me tick, is my passion. And then, of course, people would say I'm funny and aggressive. I think I'm both funny and aggressive, but when I want something, I guess tenacious is the other word that Silvia used. I'm really a go-getter. And if I'm passionate about something, I really have to see it through until I realize maybe it won't happen. But, you have to go for it. That's my motto.
Well, it totally shows on both of you, obviously, because picture books are not a short-term project by any means. So you have to have tenacity, and you have to be passionate about what you're working on, because it takes a village and it takes forever to get any kind of children's books out. So the next question, what book or books have had the most impact in your life? Silvia.
Well, thinking about that one, when I came, I was an immigrant. I didn't speak any English. And I lived in a community that was still very held onto my Cuban roots. Those were the people we associated with, even though I went to school and had other friends, but we were very much still Cuban. Whereas when I started reading, I was a big reader always. And to me, um, I loved the Hardy Boys mysteries. I love mysteries, and because I love puzzles too. And so a mystery is like a puzzle. So the Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, Trixie Belden, they were American kids of the age that I was at the time, preteen, just early teens. And they represented to me the American society that was out there somewhere, not in my house, because we were still eating arroz con frijoles. And you know, it represented the American people that lived in other parts of the United States. So I kind of learned a lot about American society through those books. And because they were little mysteries, I loved knowing, you know, trying to figure out how they solved them. So those, I mean, I was an English major, so we could go on about English literature, American literature, and Shakespeare, you name it. But those little titles that represented American, what I thought were American kids, were important to me.
And Susan?
Well, I fell in love with reading in middle school. Two books that come to mind are The Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler or Wheeler and Harriet the Spy. Those were books that I just loved when I was younger, and that's what made me want to continue to read. I didn't really fall in love with reading until I was in middle school. So, yeah.
But you did.
And I read a lot, you know, for my work because I often adapt books, make them into movies. So it's really funny about me. I should be reading the bestsellers and the popular books that everyone's talking about. But for me, I have to find books that a lot of people don't know about that might have great stories that I will have the ability to option if the film rights are available. So I'm always on the hunt for those kinds of books, and I love to read. So yeah, and I never hardly ever listen to audiobooks, which a lot of people are surprised by, but I'm pretty old-fashioned.
You like to hold it on your hands and hear the page.
I don't do Kindle. I like a book.
Yes.
So I love to read books, hardcover, paperback. Yeah.
And who knows, maybe we will see Jose on the stage.
Ooh.
You know?
Hey, good idea.
Maybe we will see Jose and Feliz on the stage. Jose and Feliz hit Broadway. That's a good one right there.
Well, they have a lot of.
She's nodding. Maybe I gave her an idea.
Yeah, definitely.
I like that idea. I think that would be really cool to have the book and then have them actually happen. You know, go to Broadway. Well, this brings us to the end of our show today. So thank you, Silvia. Thank you, Susan. And of course, thanks, Alicia, for co-hosting this with me. This was a wonderful interview, and we'll have Silvia back as a co-host in the next episode. But for now, she is our guest. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.